In today's video, I'm going to take you on a landscape photography adventure to Iceland, where I have to ask myself, are these colours even real? But before we get into it, I've just got to tell you about this free webinar that I'm doing next month with Blake Rudis from F64 Academy, and it's called The Truth Behind the Shot, where we divulge all of our shooting and post-processing secrets from all of the images that you've been seeing in this little photography contest that me and Blake have been having. Whoa! So if you'd like to register for free and cast your blind vote over which of these two images you genuinely believe is the best image, there's a link in the description below. Hopefully we'll see you there, and hopefully I actually win this photography contest, because if I lose this to Blake, he is never going to let me live it down. Okay, that is it for announcements. Let's get back on the road, where I'm going to reveal the true source of this magical blue water. It's 3:30 AM here in Iceland, and I think this is what, day 10 or 12?
12?
I think this is day 12. We've managed to, I think, break through the worst of our illness that we caught while we were here. And even though we're not 100%, I feel like we're coming out of it now. So we're going to go on a little hike to a very famous and spectacular waterfall, which I can't pronounce, obviously. I'm going to try. This one's called Brúarfoss. Brúarfoss?
Bruarfoss.
Yeah. I think this one is probably most famous for its cool blue colours in the water, which I'm all about that. And it's a really misty, moody morning. So I'm hoping that we're going to get some primo conditions. Now, to all those who thought that Iceland doesn't have any trees, and I admit I was one of them, it actually does. In fact, this is a veritable forest around us.
Bushes.
Well, granted, they're not much bigger than bushes, but they are trees. And up in the distance there, I can see some fairly tall trees as well. So there you go. To clear up a myth, Iceland does have trees and forests. They're just teeny tiny ones.
Why don't they have many?
I don't know. Maybe it's just the soil, the brutal winters, combination of the two. Oh, bye then.
So she had zero interest in my words, but I bet she was interested in this. I just couldn't wait to get my camera set up and feel that white water rushing around my ankles.
I'll be honest with you, like much of this Iceland trip, I did not expect to be this enamoured with this location. You see the pictures and you think, oh, that's nice, a nice colourful waterfall. And then you get here in person and it's just absolutely spectacular. And I'm really taken by that beautiful blue colour in the water. And I also love all of the moss and lichen that you can see, all that green splash of colour that's just barely clinging to all the rocks there. And as you can see, we've got a lovely grey, foggy background, which to me makes the colours really pop. I don't think I would want to shoot this on a bright sunny day. I think the colours would struggle to compete with all the bright contrast. So I framed up a pretty simple composition that basically takes in this little cascade here, and then of course this lovely beautiful blue colour and these falls here. But I'll show you the back of the camera and try and explain a little bit better. I've got to watch my step because this is a sketchy spot. So I'll just brighten this up so you can see what's going on in the foreground there. So I've really kind of used this little cascade here. I wouldn't say it as a leading line, but the cascade and then the rocks are something of a framing element. And so what I love is that is coming into, the action is flowing into the center of the frame and then out. And then in the top of the frame, you've got a multitude of waterfalls cascading into the center to create that beautiful blue pool. And of course, the sky, I've just composed a sliver of sky because it's just a sort of grey, misty background. The shot really is all about this. So I'm quite happy with that, but if this turns out to be any good, here's the shot.
location like this, I was having the time of my life and didn't care that I couldn't feel my feet.
Now, do you know what gives it that beautiful blue colour?
The freezingness?
No, I would have thought you'd know about this. So Iceland is the only country on planet Earth that actually has real live unicorns. And they're actually living in farms nearby. And this is unicorn pee. It drains into the river. That's what gives it that lovely blue colour.
You better not be lying to me.
Would I lie to you, love? I wouldn't lie to you about something like that. Yes, unicorn pee.
If you'd like to get more definitely factual nuggets of encyclopedic information, make sure you bosh that subscribe button. And if you've got any questions that you'd like fictitious answers to, feel free to post a comment below. After a short break, I just couldn't help myself. I had to get back into that beautiful blue water.
Alright, now you know me, I simply cannot resist an Xpan 65:24 aspect ratio. It just always looks fantastic. And in a scene like this, where the waterfall is actually quite short, well, the Xpan is really good at cutting out that unnecessary sky, although I can see a hint of a mountain in the background, so I might actually go a little bit wider and frame something up that includes that. But for now, it's just all about everything below the sky, where the waterfall begins and where the waterfall ends, and just giving you a little sliver. I'll show you the back of the camera and explain. There's a lot of glare on this screen, obviously, but if I just brighten things up, you should be able to see what I'm doing with this sort of dark area. Then as soon as I darken it down, you can see that lovely colour and texture in the water. So if I go to a full crop mode, you'll see that, I mean, it's not a bad composition actually, and the sky is doing something, so I might actually take that frame. But really, when I go to the Xpan, it just isolates what's most interesting, and that is this colourful water and then the cascades behind it. Anyway, so I'll take both versions of this shot and then post a comment and let me know which one you like best, the Xpan or the full medium format coverage.
So obviously this is the Xpan crop, but the next one is the full uncropped frame. So I'm interested to know, which did you prefer, the Xpan or the full uncropped frame? Post a comment and let me know. Oh, look at the depth of that squat. So next I decided to put on a longer lens and shoot from the bridge.
Alright, so now I've come back to the comfort and safety of the bridge, and I've put on the 135mm, so not quite telephoto but definitely capable of giving me a much more intimate scene with none of the background. It's really just about the cascade and that lovely colour. I'll show you what I've framed up on the back. I quite like it. This shot's really just about the journey of this water as it's carving its way through this valley. And I love all the cascades that creep in from the sides. Everything is pointing into the centre to where that lovely blue colour is, which you can really see when I make that a little bit darker there. So I'm just playing around with an arrangement of shutter speeds. I find that about 1/4 of a second is the nicest. It gives me enough texture, but you know, a slight motion blur, which I do like. For a small, not very tall waterfalls like this, I like to have a little bit of shutter drag, but in the giant waterfalls, I don't see any point. Anyway, if this shot turns out to be any good.
Here's the shot. I think that's book-worthy.
Book-worthy, you think?
Yeah, look at that.
Here's the shot. Now, one tip I can give you with this kind of waterfall photography, it seems dead obvious. It's so obvious that I very rarely mention this, but I really should. And that is, with a scene like this, I always underexpose my image. Sometimes I'm forced to do that because there's just not that much light and it's just a bit too dark. Other times I try all that I can do to underexpose it because I just don't want those white highlights to get blown out. That's the end of your shot, really. Once those highlights are blown, you can't really recover it. You can fake it a little bit, but you turn polishing. I'm grossly underexposed there, but I'm really not bothered about it. But having said that, I have the luxury of this medium format camera being really good at recovering the shadows. So if you have, let's say, an entry-level camera where you just don't have that much shadow recovery capability, you are going to want to bracket your exposures. So take that underexposed shot so that your highlights don't get blown out. And in this case, the blue tones in the water look so much better on the underexposed images. But then also take that much brighter overexposed image so that you can bring back, mask in some of those dark shadow areas from that brighter exposure. Luckily I don't have to do that much of that with this camera. What a fantastic morning I have had shooting at this spot. I'm the only photographer here.
It's beautiful here.
It's perfect, isn't it?
Yeah.
I thought that Iceland would be completely covered in photographers and tripods, and there are times and places where it is, but we've also had some really quiet spots. I've had the whole place to myself, so that you could do your ridiculous stretches.
Did you like those?
Impressive.
Thanks.
Sometimes I'm so inspired that I just want to pull out a copy of Stories Within Stories, which I left in the car. Should we go get some breakfast?
Yeah, curry.
Curry for breakfast. That sounds good to me.
Yeah.
I just want to say a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters shown here. You really do make it possible for me to keep this channel going. And if anyone's interested in my monthly critique sessions on Patreon, there's a link in the description. Thanks for watching.